Well, nutmeg has been used in traditional medicine for centuries, and for a whole lot more than just flavoring food. It's originally from the Spice Islands, over in Indonesia, and they've been using it for all sorts of stuff for a long, long time. Well, nutmeg has these compounds in it, things like myristicin, safrole, and eugenol. And these compounds have some interesting properties. For one thing, they've shown anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects. But what's really interesting and what we are focusing on today is their vasodilatory effect. So think of your blood vessels like a network of highways. Vasodilation basically widens those highways, so you can have better traffic flow, or in this case, better blood flow, which can potentially reduce blood pressure. And there's another aspect to consider too, nutmeg's stress-reducing qualities. It's used a lot in aromatherapy for relaxation and for sleep. And we all know stress is a huge contributor to high blood pressure. There have been some studies on nutmeg and its potential health benefits, but the research, especially the research that's focused on how it affects blood pressure in humans, it's still pretty limited. You see, a lot of the studies have been done on animals or in test tubes, and that makes it really hard to say for sure how it'll actually work in people. There was a study done on rats where they gave them nutmeg extract, and they did see a blood pressure lowering effect. Yeah, the researchers observed that the nutmeg seemed to relax the rats' blood vessels. This led to better blood flow and a drop in their blood pressure. Animal studies can give us some clues, but they don't always reflect how things will work in the much more complex human body. We really need more research, and specifically, we need clinical trials with actual human participants before we can say for sure if nutmeg has the same blood pressure lowering effects in people. Nutmeg's a good source of antioxidants, and they're essential for protecting our bodies from damage caused by free radicals. And that protection applies to our blood vessels too. When antioxidants reduce inflammation in our blood vessels, they're helping manage blood pressure and keeping everything flowing smoothly. But even with those antioxidants and all these potentially good things about nutmeg, it's really important to remember traditional use doesn't always line up with scientific evidence. Just because something's natural doesn't mean it's safe or that it works for everyone. Nutmeg's a common spice, but it can be harmful if you have too much. Yeah, it's called nutmeg toxicity, and it can happen with a surprisingly small amount, like as little as 2 or 3 teaspoons. The symptoms can be pretty varied. They can range from mild things like dizziness, feeling nauseous, dry mouth, but it can also get more severe, like hallucinations, seizures, and in really extreme cases, even organ failure. It's always a good idea to talk to your doctor because they can help figure out if it's right for you and what the risks might be, because everyone's different. They can also make sure that nutmeg won't mess with any medications you're already taking. There are a lot of really effective strategies, and we're going to jump into those. One of the best places to start is with your diet. And there's this eating plan, you've probably heard of it, called the DSH diet. It's often recommended for people who have high blood pressure. DSH stands for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. And it really emphasizes whole, unprocessed foods, like fruits and vegetables, whole grains, lean protein. Imagine like a really vibrant salad. Could have grilled salmon on top, some quinoa, all kinds of colorful veggies, and just use some herbs and a little lemon juice for some flavor. It's all about making changes you can actually stick with and that you enjoy. The DSH diet also encourages you to cut back on sodium as well as unhealthy fats, the kind you find in processed foods. Potassium is a big one. It's super important for balancing out the effects of sodium in the body. So when we eat a lot of sodium, our bodies tend to hold on to water, and all that extra water in your bloodstream, it increases your blood volume, and that puts more pressure on your blood vessels. It's like if you try to force too much water through a narrow hole, pressure just builds up. But potassium helps flush out that excess sodium, so that helps lower the pressure and keeps things flowing better. I bet you already eat some of the best sources. Bananas are a classic, but you can also get potassium from sweet potatoes, spinach, beans, even yogurt. It really comes down to that water balance thing we were just talking about. Sodium makes your body hold on to more water. That extra water increases your blood volume, and that puts more pressure on your artery walls. I always say read food labels. Seriously, it's surprising how much sodium hides in processed foods. It can be sneaky. And then the other thing is, get creative in the kitchen. Use herbs and spices. There's a whole world of flavor out there beyond just salt. You can find new favorite combinations and make healthy cooking more. We cannot forget about exercise. Regular physical activity is huge. It really is. And it's one of the best ways to lower your blood pressure. It helps your heart get stronger and helps your whole circulatory system work better. Walking, swimming, cycling, dancing, anything that gets your heart rate up and gets you moving can be really beneficial. Just aim for at least 30 minutes most days of the week. Plus, exercise has a ton of other benefits too. It can help manage stress, which, as we talked about, is a big factor in blood pressure. When you're stressed, your body releases hormones, things like adrenaline and cortisol, and those cause your heart rate and blood pressure to go up. It's basically your body's fight or flight response kicking in, even if you're not in any real danger. And if you're stressed all the time, your body's kind of on high alert constantly, and that's just not good for your blood pressure in the long run. So finding healthy ways to manage stress is so important. Things like deep breathing, meditation, yoga, spending time in nature. Those can all help calm your mind and body, and that can help bring down your blood pressure. And you know, we can't talk about heart health and blood pressure without talking about smoking. Quitting smoking is one of the absolute best things you can do for your heart. But seriously, smoking is really bad for your blood vessels. Nicotine makes your blood vessels constrict. It basically makes it harder for blood to flow through. Imagine trying to drink a milkshake through a tiny straw. That's kind of like what's happening to your blood vessels when you smoke. Plus, it damages the lining of your arteries, and that makes them more likely to get clogged, which also restricts blood flow and increases your blood pressure. Quitting smoking is one of the single best things you can do for your health, and it makes a huge difference for your blood pressure. And hey, if you're thinking about trying natural remedies, like we were talking about with nutmeg earlier, it's always a good idea to talk to your doctor because they can look at your whole health picture, you know, your medical history, what meds you might be taking, all that stuff. It's all about thinking about your well-being, you know, both your physical and your mental health.